Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Monday, August 28th. Today, right now, we are looking at the Jaguars' standout performers versus the Dolphins. We normally kind of do an offensive show, a defensive show, talk about the special teamers as well. But today we're just going to do offense and defense all in one show. I tried to limit it to 5 standout performers, but I couldn't do it. So we'll get into it here with the offense and the defense for the Jaguars in their preseason finale against the Dolphins. They were able to get to 3-0 in the preseason. Just a really impressive preseason as a whole by the Jaguars from the top down. Able to outscore their opponents 84-48 throughout these 3 preseason games. Really didn't have a close call. The closest one was against Dallas, and that score looked a little closer than it was, really due to Snoop Conner and Nathan Rourke not being able to connect on a handoff late in that football game. But again, very impressive performance by the Jaguars throughout the preseason. Coaching staff, players, everybody involved. Very good stuff. And again, preseason wins and losses, they don't matter now. Like, you're entering the regular season, you're 0-0. But does it build confidence for players throughout the roster? Yes. Does it build confidence moving into week 1? Absolutely. And I think it builds a little bit of chemistry, cohesion. No, these games are not the level of games that you're going to be playing in the regular season. And the regular season games aren't the same level of games you'll be playing in the postseason. That's how it goes. But would you rather play well than play poorly? Absolutely. And the Jaguars played very well throughout the preseason. Again, 84-48, the combined score in these 3 games with the Jaguars coming out on top in all 3 games. But getting into this one specifically against the Dolphins, first and only home preseason game at Everbank Stadium for the Jaguars. Really impressive crowd out there. But offensively, I think you got to start with Calvin Ridley. 3 targets, 3 catches, 50 yards on 2 drives, highlight reel toe-tapping catch down the field to get the Jaguars into scoring position. Him and Trevor Lawrence, their connection has been growing and growing and growing throughout training camp and the preseason, and now you've seen them really start to look really impressive, in a game setting. And again, this isn't the same type of game setting that you're going to have in week 1, but it's the next step. It's a huge step for Trevor Lawrence and for Calvin Ridley in this offense, in my opinion. And would they be able to, get things going even if they didn't have a preseason together? Yeah, I do think they would. But does this help? Absolutely. And Calvin, he has just every step of the way, from getting reinstated, even before getting reinstated. I think he has just handled himself professionally. He's been really excited to get back out on the field, not only just as an individual, but in the team setting as well. He's really embraced being a leader in that room with the wide receivers. He's embraced his connection and friendship with Trevor Lawrence and his work with the entire coaching staff. I can't say enough about Calvin Ridley and what he's done coming back from what he had to come back from, not only the suspension, but everything else that went into what was going on with him. I think Calvin Ridley's done a tremendous job, and these types of performances, only in a couple drives, getting 3 catches for 50 yards and having the highlight reel one down the field, I think that you're just going to continue to see Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley have this type of connection and put up huge numbers. I really do. If you haven't had your fantasy draft yet, Calvin Ridley and Trevor Lawrence, I think that would be a pretty nice stack for you to be able to land, especially if you're a Jaguars fan, which if you're watching this, you probably are. So I mentioned Trevor Lawrence. I just want to shout out the entire quarterback room. Awesome game for the quarterbacks. They were super highly efficient, and that's credit to the quarterbacks, Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, Mike McCoy, everybody involved. And again, it is still just preseason. But for each of these quarterbacks to play at this level, really sustained throughout the preseason. I do think this was Beathard's best game. But Trevor Lawrence and Nathan Rourke, they've looked this way every time they've stepped on the field, really. Just highly efficient, getting the job done. And C.J. Beathard did it as well this week. And he's had highlights throughout preseason, no doubt about it. So I just think this quarterback room as a whole, really, really strong. In terms of their preseason performance. And that continued against Miami, where the Jaguars were just kind of moving the ball at will. So congratulations to them, of course. The running backs, you got to give them a shout out. I mean, they've been fantastic as well. With Travis Etienne, obviously Bigsby had the fumble, but he was highly effective in this game outside of the fumble. And Dearness Johnson was awesome. JaMychal Hasty played well as well. So I think that you got to love the running back and wide receiver rooms you have. Tight end as well, but they didn't do quite as much as the other two groups in this one. But looking at the offensive line, I think Brandon Sheriff kind of played the way you saw him play in Washington quite a bit when he was healthy. Last year, a lot of people were down on his play, and his play wasn't as impressive. Like, he didn't look like a Pro Bowl guard for a lot of the season, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that he was dealing with lower body injuries and just fighting through the injuries all year instead of missing games. And so he was playing at probably like a B- level instead of his regular B+ A level type of play. In this game, he didn't play the whole game or anything, but when he was in there, I think it was about 11 pass pro snaps, 20-something run, something like that. He was awesome. He was really awesome for the Jaguars in this game. He was mauling people in the running game, which is what you expect to see from Brandon Sheriff, quite honestly. He's such a talented and athletic offensive lineman, especially at the guard position, that he is able to create a lot of space. He's able to get out in space and put people on their ass. Yeah, so he played 11 pass block snaps, 14 run block. He was getting it done at a high level. I encourage you to go back and watch those runs where Etienne and Bigsby were having some success. And go look at what Brandon Sheriff was doing. He was really getting it done at a high level. Didn't allow a pressure during his 11 pass pro snaps. So if he's able to continue to play like that, I think you could see this Jaguars running game and offensive line elevate past where they were in 2022, even with Anton Harrison playing next to him at right tackle. Because Anton, he's done a really good job in pass pro himself. This is a guy that I think is going to enter the season and be able to hold up for the most part. In pass pro on the right side for them, and everything else, you've got some continuity going on. You know, you've got Walker Little who's played, you've got Cam Robinson who's played, Ben Barch and Tyler Shatley have both played at guard for you, and then of course Luke Fortner at center. So, and then the last guy I did want to shout out, I just mentioned him, Cam Robinson, last guy on the offensive side of the ball. He really needed to answer the bell, in my opinion, and I think he did in a pretty significant way. Having to play 51 snaps on offense in this one, most of the game, right? Or maybe all of the game. Cam Robinson had not had a great preseason so far, in my opinion. And it wasn't perfect in this game, but this was his best game of the preseason. I thought he was more engaged. I thought he was playing at a higher overall level, and he was playing at a level that if you had to put him out there as your starting left tackle, you would feel a little bit better about it. And this was against a talented defensive front. The Dolphins have a lot going on up front on their defensive line in terms of talent and ability. And so I think Cam Robinson, again, not perfect, but by far his best game of the preseason. And now he's not going to be able to play until week 5 at the earliest. It's a weird situation with him coming back after week 4 because Week 4 is when they're in London. Week 5, they're also playing in London. So does he fly separately from the team, meet the team halfway through, the trip, and then just jump into the starting lineup? We'll see how it plays out. But good for Cam Robinson going out before the suspension on a high note, in my opinion, after this game. And then looking at the defensive side of the ball, I think you saw a lot of good stuff. I wanted to shout out Caleb Hayes because I've talked about him a little bit on the channel, but not a ton. He does not get talked about enough. I don't think he's been stellar in training camp, but in these preseason games, he's been really good. He's gotten a pass breakup at outside corner in each preseason game for the Jaguars. He's allowed 20 total yards on 5 targets in primary coverage throughout the preseason. I'm not saying he's probably going to make the roster because I just think there's too much competition at this point at the back end of the cornerback room. But he has been really effective throughout the preseason, and he was really effective against Miami. Had a pass breakup. He was able to get a couple tackles, just play sound football. Makes plays on the ball. I think good performance for him throughout the entire preseason. Capped it off against Miami. He's going to have a shot, whether it's in Jacksonville on their practice squad or getting picked up by another team. I think Caleb Hayes has a future in the NFL for sure. Looking at Yasir Abdullah, anytime you're a 3-4 outside linebacker, primarily playing on the line of scrimmage, and you go get yourself an interception, you're going to get a game ball from me. Great play dropping into the flat. He was able to get another quarterback pressure and tackle in this one, and you can just kind of feel his energy, his speed out there on the field when he's out there. I think it's easy to see, right? You have Trayvon Walker, who's a big athletic freak, long arms, just strong as hell. You have Josh Allen, who is not quite as big as Trayvon Walker, but still just an absolute freak show. Yasir Abdullah, we've talked about it. He's the changeup. He's smaller, he's shorter, he still has decent proportional length, but he is an elite athlete at the position in terms of his speed, change of direction, his ability to just be fluid out there and give the offensive tackles that you're going up against something else that they have to prepare for. Because Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, they're beasts in their own right. Then you have to deal with this speedy little rusher coming out there and giving you a hard time. I think Yasir Abdullah, in my book, should probably be the Jaguars' edge 3 entering the season ahead of Kayvon Chason. I think Jordan Smith has earned reps as well. I'm hopeful that he's able to stick onto this roster because I think Jordan Smith deserves to be in the rotation as well. Coming back from that knee injury, I think he's played well enough to get out there and give you some reps throughout games for sure. Looking at Ventrell Miller, we'll hopefully learn more about the lower body injury that he suffered in the game. But gosh, he was fun to watch when he was out there. He was a tackling machine, got in there with a pressure on his only blitz. You've seen him, had sacks in the first 2 games, had a pressure in this one on his blitz. He's making forceful tackles out there, really letting the ball carrier know that he's there. He looked comfortable dropping into coverage in this one as well. So you just really hope that he can avoid any sort of long-term injury, and I think we'll find out more about that hopefully this afternoon at noon, I should say, actually, when Doug Peterson speaks with the media. So be on the lookout for that, obviously. And then shout out to Eric Hallett as well on the defensive side of the ball. He has not been perfect throughout the preseason. He's been playing some mostly free safety, but he's been playing in the box some as well. He's been playing slot some as well. But he was able to go get that interception, toe drag swag on the defensive left sideline there, where he was able to go intercept the football, get his feet down, look stylish doing it. Congratulations to Eric Hallett for getting that preseason interception. He's been productive in practice. Hasn't been as good in the games, in my opinion. He hasn't been bad by any stretch, but I think you've seen him in the games just kind of like one step behind where he needs to be in order to make a play on the football a lot. In this one, he was able to make that play and make a big play for the Jaguars defense, give the offense the ball back. So congrats to him as well. It's looking like he's probably on the outside looking in when it comes to a roster spot, but I think that he will stick around on the practice squad. Again, he'll have to pass through waivers in order to get back to the Jaguars practice squad, but a guy that I think has shown enough to get you excited about him potentially being able to make your roster long-term, like down the stretch, maybe 2024, etc. But yeah, really good performance from the Jaguars. Great preseason overall for this team. They're going into week 1 with a lot of confidence on both sides of the ball. Special teams, you still got to improve that kick coverage. We'll see how that plays out for them. But we've got Doug Peterson later today at noon, who's going to speak to the media. Hopefully we'll find out about Ventrell Miller, any other injuries that we need to learn about. And then cut down day is tomorrow, Tuesday, August 29th by 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The Jaguars and the rest of the NFL, they have to cut their rosters down to 53, but do not look at it as a final 53. It's an initial 53. There's going to be a lot of movements and machinations that happen for the Jaguars as soon as that 53 is announced and they're able to start making some moves. I would expect a couple guys to potentially go on to short-term IR. I would not be surprised if DeJuan Smoot goes to the reserve/PUP list where he'll be eligible to return after 4 weeks. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. And then up next after that, it's kind of looking at some big picture stuff on this channel for the Jaguars 2023 season, and then getting ready for the Colts. It's exciting times, couple weeks here till you get some real Jaguars football. Less than a couple weeks now, I guess about 12 days. But yeah, fired up. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit that like and subscribe button, notification bell on YouTube. Drop a comment in the comment section below. And if you want to support the channel further, you can check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear for the season. Really appreciate y'all. Have a good one.